dressed in a white robe, it signifies you're losing your innocence, and you are baptized full submersion in a vat of human blood, pig's blood, and urine, human urine. They do full submersion. Types of spells, but there's one called a hex. And in the 2 covens that I was in, if you do a hex, it has to come with an abortion, because a hex is the top level of curse you have. But for you to get the devil's attention, for him to give you what you want, you've got to give the devil what he wants. And what he wants is destruction of the most innocent thing in the world. And that would be a baby. So if you can murder a baby, he'll give you what you want.
Hey family, thank you so much for checking out my new channel, Unsung Stories. All kinds of stories you'll hear, spiritual stories, love stories. It's all about stories, basically stories that have not been told. It's a brand new channel, so I really need your help. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please, and like and make a few comments. Let me know that you're engaged in what's going on, especially these type of stories that you're watching today. I need to know that you're watching them. I need to know that you want more of them, and I need to hear your comments. And so thanks again for listening. This is Unsung Stories, where you can find any kind of story that you want. Love stories, spiritual stories, crime stories, right here on Unsung Stories. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much.
My parents were devout Baptists. That means they never went to church. But they made sure that me and my brother went every Sunday. And I, at one time, wanted to be a Baptist preacher. And I was totally into the God thing and thought that was the most awesome thing in the world. But, you know, and I also describe my parents during this time, my parents were the no police. So anything I wanted to do, the answer was no. But things that I wanted to do, I mean, my parents had a good reason for saying no. You know, like I wanted to go see all these action movies or horror movies, and my parents said no. And then I wanted to go see the Moody Blues play. No. You know, anything I wanted to do, any fun, anything that I viewed as fun, the answer was no. And well, I started seeing God as he's the ruler of thou shalt nots. Everything in the Bible was thou shalt not. It wasn't a book of what you're allowed to do. It's what you're not allowed to do, which is what my parents did. You know, this is all the stuff you're not allowed to do. And, you know, I wanted to be religious, but, well, when I was 10 years old, I had watched a lot of movies that had magic in them. And I wanted to know, is that something I can do? Is magic real? Is that like a real, like, viable, could I do this for the rest of my life? Could I do it one time? I had spells in D&D books, in your gaming books. There was magic spells in them. I didn't know if those worked or not. Plus the library had books on magic, but I didn't want to be caught checking one out, so I would read them there, you know, and just hope that that actually works. And then at the same time as I'm doing that, this is at 10 years old, I was in the 5th grade, and we had this game at school. I learned about it the first day of class. This kid, my age, asked me to meet him in the bathroom at the first break. Well, the first break's at 10:20. And at 10:20, I saunter into the bathroom. I don't know why I'm meeting this kid there, but there's 49 other kids in the bathroom. So now there's 50 of us, boys and girls, in the same bathroom. And they say we're going to turn out the light and chant this Bloody Mary phrase. And if you do it right, the spirit of a burn victim will show up in the mirror. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I doubted that worked, but sure, why not? Let's try that. So somebody turns out the light and we chant the phrase, and suddenly, spirit of a burn victim shows up in the mirror. Now, it's really a demon, and what you've done is a spell. And we did that. Demonic face shows up. 49 screaming kids ran out of the bathroom. One kid, we'll say he's an idiot. I can say that about a child because it was me. thought, that is the coolest thing in the world. I said that. I made that face appear. That's power. And I went to my Baptist preacher and my parents and asked them, is magic real? Is that something I can do? And they both said no, that magic was just something that you saw like David Copperfield do, or Doug Henning, or in a movie. Apparently the Baptist preacher and my parents never read the 33 verses in the Bible where God says not to do magical. There's many different types of spells, but there's one called a hex. And in the 2 covens that I was in, if you do a hex, it has to come with an abortion, because a hex is the top level of curse you have. But for you to get the devil's attention, for him to give you what you want, you've got to give the devil what he wants. And what he wants is destruction of the most innocent thing in the world. And that would be a baby. So if you can murder a baby, he'll give you what you want. Almost exactly what you want. But, you know, you've got to pull out all the stops and be willing to do something like that. So I was in child pornography from the age of 12 to halfway through being 16. Most of the kids were about my age. Some of them were adults. So it wasn't always children, but we were all filmed and all this stuff was sold. Now, I didn't get the benefit of the money from any of that, but I thought I was having a good time. It never occurred to me when I was a child that I was being re-victimized every time. I didn't think that was bad or wrong, or, you know, I'm getting to have sex. I'm a kid. This is fantastic. All my friends at school, I mean, not girls. Girls did not talk like this. But all the boys at my school all talked about getting laid, having sex on the weekend, doing something with somebody, you know, and looking back, we were all making up stories. None of us were doing any of that stuff except me. I was legitimately in pornography. I have a lot of people ask me, why would you join a satanic coven? You're 12 years old. Well, because in my satanic coven, I found out that the perfect time to smoke a cigarette is right after you eat. The perfect time to smoke dope is right before you eat. The perfect time to take some acid is on the weekend. The perfect time to take MDMA is when you're with your friends. Or you can take MDMA and acid at the same time. It's called candy flipping. And it's an amazing feeling. And I'm loving all these things. And I'm thinking, you know, you've got to be 18 years old to buy porn. I'm addicted to porn. I'm still 12 years old, so I can't buy porn. You got to be 19 years old to buy cigarettes. I'm still 12. You got to be 21 to buy booze. I'm still 12. So, and I'm having sex pretty much every weekend, sometimes during the week. If I quit, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. And I'm on all these drugs. I don't know where to get those. I get them there. So I decided I wanted to join because, you know, whereas my parents tell me no to everything I want to do, this place takes me out to see the Moody Blues. They take me out to see Kiss, to see Ted Nugent, to see Alice Cooper. Any place I want to go, any movie I want to see, nothing is off limits. I asked them what I had to do to become a Satanist, and they told me there were 13 steps involved to becoming a Satanist. I had done almost all of them already. All I had left to do was that I had to slice my left thumb and bleed onto a document. And the document says, the blood of Jesus washes away all sin, but not mine. And I signed my name to that. And on another page it says, Jesus died for everyone, but not me. And I signed my name to that. On the final page of a 5-page document, I agreed to sell my soul to the devil.
I keep shaking my head because some of it is just almost, you know, I'm so glad that we're actually hearing the account coming from the person who experienced it, because some of it is just hard to believe. I believe in spirituality. I believe in the power of darkness. I believe in demons. And so, the unseen realm, I believe in all of that. But until you actually hear somebody who experienced all this type of stuff, man, it's hard. It's hard to believe.
Besides signing this document, you show up to a coven meeting, and this is at night, and my parents think I'm at a sleepover, and I'm dressed in a white robe. It signifies you're losing your innocence, and you are baptized full submersion in a vat of human blood, pig's blood, and urine, human urine. They do full submersion, bring you up, you go into another room, take a shower, come out in a black robe with the cowl raised. It signifies you've been baptized into a world of darkness. You sit in a chair, and they read off the document you signed the night before. Then you show them your thumb to show that it was your thumb that they sliced open. And, that is your blood that's in that document. They read off everything, and they hand you a crucifix inside of a wheel. You spin the crucifix upside down, signifying human sacrifice. You grab the arms of the crucifix and break them downward, denouncing Christ. And then they intertwine the document you signed with this crucifix, and they say that you've now sold your soul, that it's official, you're a Satanist, and you have a big party after that. Now you're celebrating that you're officially a Satanist, but the reality of what just happened is that you're celebrating that one day you're going to die and go to hell. And I was officially a Satanist at that point. At 14 years old, I was told that I was going to celebrate, I was going to have a party with a woman. It was going to be a sex party. It was going to be all the males between 12 and 15 years old, and this one female. And the purpose of that was to make her pregnant because we were going to do an abortion in 8 or 9 months. And I said, cool. And then I went home and looked up the word abortion because I didn't know what it meant. And my dictionary was so old, the word abortion was not in it. So I looked it up at the library. There were 2 books on abortion. They were both about this thick. I went through school on Cliff Notes. I am not reading 300 pages to get the definition of abortion. So I went back to my coven and I asked, hey, I was told I had to do an abortion, but I don't know what that means. And they said, oh, you're killing a baby in the womb. I was like, is that legal? He goes, yeah, in the womb, legal. Out of the womb, murder. Okay. So I practice with Play-Doh and a scalpel, or an apple and a scalpel, for a few months. I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. This is what they told me to do. Then on the day of the abortion, I was told that my goal was to get blood on my hands. However, and she was 19 years old, and this was her, I think her 2nd or 3rd abortion. She was what's called a breeder. A breeder intentionally gets pregnant so that she can get abortions. Because she'll be given some kind of status in the Satanic Coven at some point, whenever her body stops being able to produce babies. Our abortions, for the most part, are late term. A late term abortion is performed by you deliver all the baby except the head. You leave the head inside. You take a pair of scissors and you jam it up into the base of the skull. You then take the scissors and open them up. So it opens the base of the skull. You stick a catheter into the skull, suck the brain out. Then you pull the scissors out. Then you dismember the body. Sometimes you don't dismember the body. If you're in the abortion clinic, I don't think they dismember at this point. They usually dismember when it's still inside the womb. But as a Satanic Coven, we dismembered the body right there. Threw it out to some Satanists on the floor that are swaying and chanting our bodies ourselves, and they consumed the body. They ate it. They cannibalized it. I totally did 146 assisted abortions. My job is to get blood on my hands, whether that's the baby or the mother, and I'm not actually doing the abortion, but I'm there. But my belief also is that the receptionist that works in Planned Parenthood and the armed guard that's outside in the parking lot and the guy that quite possibly even the maintenance crew that decides they're going to mow the grass and make the abortion clinic look nice, are just as culpable as the abortion doctor and nurse inside killing the baby, because you're all assisting him to do his job. So I was just as culpable as the doctor and the nurse that performed the abortion, even though I didn't do it. You know, it's a horrific place. How somebody could decide that this is okay. You know, like you're Catholic and then you vote for a president that is in favor of abortion. It's like, what's wrong with you? You can't do this. This is so satanic. Which when I did, I was 14. I was 3 months before turning 15. And, you know, the spells that I'm doing at this point, a hex, I think the mayor, but I'm not sure if it was the mayor, wanted something passed that he tried every avenue to get it passed and he couldn't. So he came to my coven to see if we could do a hex, get it done, and figuring that the abortion would push it through. And I guess whatever it is that he wanted to get done passed. Fun. I'm having a great time. However, when I was 13 years old, I tried to kill myself for the first time. And I just got so, you know, thinking about what happened to me when I was 11, I was on drugs a lot, and thinking about what I was going through now. And then, for whatever reason, you know, at that time I was, you know, 13 years old, you're not the brightest bulb in the box. I tried to OD on like Tylenol or something like that, which made me really sick and really bad headache. When I was 17 years old, I tried to kill myself again because for 4.5 years, I'd been a porn star and everybody wanted to see me perform. When I was 16.5 years old, I grew a mustache. And now suddenly I aged out of porn. Nobody wanted to see a little kid with a mustache performing. So now suddenly, no more movies, no more weekends, no more of that whatsoever. Nobody wants to see me anymore. And I went from being on top of the world to having the weight of the world on my back. You know, I can't do this stuff anymore. I can't be on film anymore. I can't be popular anymore. And I became so despondent over what was happening to me, like how bad my life had gone, that I wanted to end it all. I graduated from high school and I thought, all right, I need to, when I go off to college, I want to join another satanic coven. But how am I going to do that? I mean, they're not going to advertise in the town square. And, you know, this is before the internet. So, you know, the places that you could find satanic covens back then was either on a bulletin board in certain stores or in swingers magazines in adult bookstores. So, when I went to school, though, I discovered that I found it because they advertised it in the town square. We had a student union. Every Wednesday, the student union was open. And they had the Baptist and the Catholic student union, the Republican and the Democrat student union, the Satanist student union. So I went to that for the first time and found out it was kids away from home for the first time with no adult supervision. Thought Satan was all about taking drugs, drinking, having sex. I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. I don't need a satanic coven for that anymore. And these guys would like make up magic spells on the spot. Like, we're going to do this, this, and this. Pull up, magic works. Look at that. This magic wouldn't work, and they weren't really doing a magic spell. And then these guys would go to their coven meeting on Saturday night. Sunday, they'd go to church. Not a satanic church. This was like a club meeting. We're going to have fun and get drunk, and then tomorrow we're going to go to church. We're going to go to the Baptist church or the Presbyterian church or whatever they belong to and worship God and not let God know that we're in a satanic coven when it was a real coven. So I contacted my first coven And I said, hey, I heard there's a coven out there that wants to rule the world. I want to rule the world. How do I join them? And they said there's a satanic coven called the World Church of Satan or Satan's World Church. Same coven. And we're going to give you the address. I'm going to go meet these guys, see what you think. And they are out to rule the world. Okay. So I'm at this coven meeting. It's a party. It's like the size of a giant Walmart. And I mean, there's 10,000 people in there partying. And I see this guy. Now let's go back to me being 13 years old. I was at a sleepover one night. And I saw this guy. I got up at like 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water. And there was this guy in the coven. He's not a member of my coven as far as I know. But he looks like he's dressed in like kind of an old school tuxedo, a top hat, had a wand, and had corpse paint on his face. He looked like a member of KISS wearing a tuxedo. And I thought, that's the coolest look ever. And when he sees me, he winks at me. And we go our separate ways. I do what I got up to do, and then I go back to bed. The next day, I asked my coven members, hey, I saw this guy last night. He looked like a guy from KISS wearing a tuxedo. Who is that? Oh, you dreamed that. That didn't really happen. Okay. All right. So they're going to lie to me. I'm going to store that back here. And one day, I'm going to see that look again, and I'm going to find out what it is. So one day happened when I was 18. I'm at this party, and I see a similar look. Not the same guy, but a very similar look. And I grabbed the first guy close to me, and I said, who is that? What is that? How can I do that? And he said, well, who ran your satanic coven? I said, we had a really large satanic coven. It had between 120 and 150 members. And we had 13 high priests and priestesses. Why, who runs it here? And he said, well, we have a CEO and a board of directors. It's kind of run like a big corporate business. And then we have, that guy is called the High Wizard. And the High Wizard does the official magic of the coven. Well, I did the official magic of my other coven. You have the white robe is the initiate that first comes in. You want to get the black robe, which is a black robe with a red inverted pentagram on it. And that's all the satanic members have that. But the official magic practitioner wears a red robe with a black inverted pentagram. And that's the robe I wanted, and I got it. As soon as I was in, first day I was a member, I got the red robe. They knew that I loved magic, that I was consumed by it. So now I find out that in this coven, the High Wizard does the official magic. And I said, how many of them are there? There's between 2 and 5 in the world, but the number could be as low as 1 or as high as 10. And they do the official magic of the coven. And I think that is the most awesome thing. How do I get to do that? He didn't know. Like, okay. So I decided I would join this coven. I gave them the references from my previous coven. And I found out while I was in there that to become the High Wizard, you've got to get Satan's attention. All right. Well, I knew that abortion, I'm certain, got Satan's attention. Like doing one, you feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof. You feel like nothing can happen to you. You are king of the world. But you're pretty certain Satan granted us pretty much everything we ever did an abortion for. So if he's granting what we're petitioning for, he knows that we're doing the abortion. Because he knows that we had to do the abortion for him to grant us our petition. So that's where I'm going to get Satan's attention. I'm going to do more abortions. So I started doing that. I did that 18, 19, and 20. When I was 20 years old, I got this letter in the mail. And it said that I was being petitioned to come before the CEO and the board of directors. Now, something else I know is that there are people that get that and they go before the CEO and the board of directors and they are never heard from again. And I thought, I ain't going out like no sucker. So At that time, Florida had a 2-week cooling off period to buy a handgun. I did the 2-week cooling off period. I went in and I bought a Sig Sauer 9mm and a few clips because I thought, you're going to try and do something to me? I might die, but I ain't going out alone. So I brought all this in with me. You know, I'm wearing this under my clothes and I go in for this meeting. And when I go in, I'm sitting in this chair and they bring in this light blue High Wizard handbook. It's as hokey as it sounds. The cover is a hand drawing of a High Wizard. And all the way through it is animation of High Wizards. But then the first page, when you open it, on the first page, the first thing it says, no one can tell you what to do. This is the job for me. This is what I want. I mean, I can do anything. They're like, absolutely anything. Anything you want to do. You won't be arrested. You won't be charged with anything. Nothing will happen to you. There's no jail time. There's nothing. Anything you want to do. You want to speed down the road everywhere you go? Do it. Now I thought, this has got to be far-fetched. There's got to be something that I can be charged with. But I thought, I want this job. Now they also showed me a wall. They moved a curtain back and there was about 9 different costumes on the wall. It was 9 different variations of what a High Wizard might want to look like. There was also different face paint, different things you could do. You know, and I thought, this is super cool. So I just, any version of this, or I can make up my own look pretty much. As long as it's an old school tuxedo. I mean, you can wear a modern tuxedo, but why would you? It's an old school tuxedo, a top hat, a wand or a cane. I thought a wand was kind of hokey, but a cane, I could bring some class to that. And I decided, yes, I'm going to be I'm going to be the High Wizard. Not the first High Wizard, but I'm going to be a High Wizard. I was 21 years old, and I became a High Wizard. Now, your very first assignment, at least mine, because I turned 21 in July, and also in July is the cremation of care ceremony that happens at Bohemian Grove. That's in California, and I got invited to that. Now, I don't know what that is. I'd heard of Bohemian Grove. I read it in a book about something else that happened, and the person said they went to Bohemian Grove. No idea what that is. And I go to that, and they have what's called the cremation of care. Now, have you ever been a bowler?